Yo, monkeys, it's me, DDP, and you are lucky enough to be watching me right here on Sportskeeda Wrestling. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
Hey, I am Riju Dasgupta, content manager at Sportskeeda Wrestling. And it's officially time to kick off the Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards with a bang. This is an award show where you, fans, have the chance, the opportunity, the platform to pick the best and the biggest stars of 2021. Joining us at this time is a man that I've grown up watching, someone I'm proud to say is a part of the Sportskeeda Wrestling family, who will help you pick your favorite stars. A former multi-time WCW champion, as well as a WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. Diamond Dallas Page. How are you doing, sir?
Unstoppable, bro. Unstoppable. Excited for, it's been a great year of all the way around for the talent. A lot of great talent has emerged over these really tough times of COVID and working in front of no people. You know, that's so hard to do that because the people are part of the show. And when you eliminate them, wow, huge void, especially for a wrestler to get in their head. And you don't want to be in your head. You want to be living the moments. And there was some tough times, like, over these last 2 years for wrestlers to really step out and into their own element.
Absolutely. Do you think, you wrestled at the height of the popularity of wrestling. Do you think if there was a period like that, the business would have suffered at that time?
Oh my God, it would have been brutal. Without having, all you got to do is look back at the WCW crowds and WWE crowds, but especially the WCW crowds, because we were the ones who were winning the war at that time. In 1997 and 1998, they were frantic. And when you had, ascended to the top of the top, when Randy Savage and I, even got near each other, the electricity was insane. You didn't have to do a lot, and less was more, because you wanted the people to feel what just happened. And God, if those people weren't there, it wouldn't have been the same. It would not have, because then you wouldn't have really known who was getting over. For me, I'm doing a speech for a corporation later on this evening. And one of the things I talk about is relationships, and the relationship I had with Dusty and Jake. Without those two, I'm not a Hall of Famer, because they helped me over the way. But I had to develop my own things. And one of the things I developed, besides the diamond cutter, and Johnny Ace gave me the one-arm one, Steven Regal gave me a move called the cravat. So then you couldn't get out. Like, you couldn't get out of the move. And because I was such a huge Mark fan, friend, brother of Jake the Snake Roberts, he's got the original out of nowhere with a DDT. Because sometimes you can just nowhere. And for me, that's what made it my career take off. But this, if the people weren't doing this when I was wrestling nobodies, because that's all they gave me to beat in the beginning. And when I would go out there, as opposed to having, you see some of the bigger guys just crush the enhancement guy, I wanted to make him look like Ric Flair, or as close to that as possible. I wanted him to look like it was a competition. At the time, I was a heel, so I kept shining him, and then bang! Out of nowhere, I hit him with the diamond cutter. If I don't have all the people doing this, the booking committee never pushes me. But the people throwing this up, like, I would hit that move. On YouTube, there's a video called Diamond Cutters on Everyone. If you watch that, and you'll see the progression of the move, by the end of the 4-minute video, I hit the move, and 5,000 people in this 20,000 people, that's the camera shot, they jump out of their seats throwing it up. if there's no people there for me, we're not talking most likely.
Amazing, man. So let's fast forward a little bit. I mean, you mentioned the peak of wrestling. You have had the honor of working under Eric Bischoff. You have worked for Vince McMahon, and now you have worked for Tony Khan. So to set the stage for the award, what was it like? It was a short stint, but what is Tony Khan like as a person?
I just was talking about him recently. He's he's a billionaire. Okay, so let's like that puts him on a different planet. You know, he's so relatable. He's not just nice to everyone who's around him. He treats people the way he gets treated. And I know for a fact he has talked to some enhancement guys who are on dark and come up to them after the match and go, "Great job. Love what you did there. And maybe you want to try this and this." Like, he's very approachable. And, you know, for me, like if I text Tony Khan will text me back. You know, like I don't wrestle. I'm not a part of the wrestling part. I'm more a part of the production part now. And, you know, my company, Comeback Studios, we film all those amazing Road to, you know, Double or Nothing or whatever that. My guys do all that. And that was because of the relationship I had with Cody Rhodes and was doing stuff for him before there was an AEW. Because I wanted him to have an updated version of what amazing stuff the Young Bucks did with their series on YouTube. So I wanted to give him something that would be a higher production level and help to build the brand. And then Tony got involved. And Tony was cool, really, you know, laid back, and he knows who he is. And it's his show. And a lot of the things, like Cody was very influential in the beginning with a lot of stuff. But today, this is Tony Khan's show. And what they're doing right now is pretty damn amazing. And those crowds were like our crowds. Because you'll get WWE, you'll get that really live with, you know, with the big well-known angles, and, you know, they'll get involved in it. But with AEW, it doesn't have to be like that. Those fans are so passionate. Dusty, who was my number one mentor and brother, and sometimes my dad, he would say, "You know, D, I wish you could have gotten to work at least one time with ECW, because those fans were so crazy. It was like it was in '97. And the AEW is like my ECW, of going there and being able to done a couple things with them, you know, over the first couple of years, just to help build that brand. And more than anything, man, I love the WWE. I love, ROH isn't really together right now, but they're doing something with the NWA and with Impact. The more wrestling alliances that are out there, the better for the fan, the better for the boys and the girls, because it gives them, you know, a whole other platform. You know, like, look at like what's happened in the last couple of months with Bryan Danielson coming over, and, you know, Adam Cole, and these guys, you know, they're really, really, really talented. And I don't know if we ever would have seen Punk come back. I would say we never would have seen him come back if there wasn't an AEW. So thank God for Tony Khan and his belief in it. And it was funny because when we first met, he had told me that, like, I do a lot of my own stuff. Like, back in the day, the internet, I'm the first one to have its own internet site. Like, before anybody, a buddy of mine named Rich Schmick helped me put it together, but I would go on and talk to fans. And I talked to Tony Khan as a kid and got him tickets for it, because he was supposed to be in Orlando for Disney when WCW would do Disney events, but he couldn't make it and gave them to a friend. But that's, you know, I always tell people, you never know who's watching, and always be a good person. Because if you are, you never know who's watching, you know? So to me, I've always tried to take the high road. Obviously, Positively Unstoppable, my new book, my book that's out, my positivelyanstoppable.com challenge, $250,000 fitness challenge. Anybody wants to know about, go to positivelyanstoppable.com.
Right. That was one great story, man. Final question before we dive right into the awards. Did we see your last match in WCW, or maybe Vince McMahon calls you and says show up at the Royal Rumble? Do you do that?
Well, I don't know if I do it anymore. I might do a diamond cutter out of nowhere. Going 2 years ago, almost maybe 2 years and a week ago, when I did that match on AEW for Tony Khan, had, of course, with MJF, who I think is one of the greatest talents on the planet. But to be out there with QT and Dustin and go against MJF and Blade and the Butcher, if there was no people, I never would have done it. But because there was the adrenaline, I was 64 at the time, 64 years young, going in there and doing what I did, and then going off that top rope down to those guys on the floor, that this right here is the last move I will ever make in professional wrestling is kind of crazy to me. But who knows? I may show up somewhere, whether it's WWE or AEW, and drop a diamond cutter on somebody. I don't know. It's still possible. I'd love to do it when I'm 70. So I got 4 more years before I get there.
Amazing, man. So let's dive right into the categories for now. And let's start with the comeback of the year. And before we dive into the comeback of the year category, there is a notable exception who missed out on this category by around 10 days. And that is a good friend of yours, Stinger. Sting returned, I believe, at the end of 2020. Are you surprised that, like yourself, he can go at his age as well?
We text all the time, and sometimes we talk after some of the... People can think what they want about professional wrestling. You can't fake gravity. And some of the things I've seen Sting done, him and Orange, the little thing they did outside the ring, that was so priceless. I want to go back and do that with him. But the things that he's done physically, they've blown my mind. Unfortunately, I know, because I'm a couple of years older than him, I know he's really going to feel it. This run right here, which is pure adrenaline, love of the game, being around all those young guys who worship him. They don't like him. They didn't just grow up with him. They worship Sting because Sting was the franchise. He was as high as you could go. So, for me, I love watching it. I feel bad for him at the same time. And I'm that couple of years older, so I know what's coming in his mid-60s. And I'll be really surprised to see how far he can go. I love the rub that he has given one of my favorite guys ever, Darby Allin. He's a special human being. He works out with me all the time. He'll come back into town because we live in Atlanta, Georgia. And he'll come back into town and go, "Can I come by and work out with you?" And there he just wants me to help, loosen him up, get his mind off of the pain and start going to fixing it. Because that boy, he puts himself out on a different level. And, all those guys, the ones that are smart, Darby, he's straight edge. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do drugs. That's huge for your healing. But he also does DDP yoga, and, the fact that he does, he's like AJ Styles. They're 5-day-a-week guys. Sometimes I'm sure 6. You look at someone like AJ Styles, how he's doing what he's doing at 45 years old, off the chain. You know, like he's sometimes I'll just text him, "You really are Superman." You know, some of the stuff that he does. But I love the fact of Sting and Darby together, and you know, I love that Sting's being able to go out there and do what he loves to do. And I told him, I said, of all people, when I saw him in TNA and on Impact Wrestling, I didn't believe I was watching it then. I'm like, I thought he would have retired before anybody, but no, he didn't, and because he still loves the game.
Amazing. Let's dive right into the categories. So the 5 nominations for Best Comeback of the Year are CM Punk, who returned after so many years; Becky Lynch, who returned and made an impact after taking a sabbatical for motherhood; Brock Lesnar, who showed up with a whole new attitude and a whole new avatar; Christian Cage, who, like you, is still in the prime of his health; or a man that you know very, very well, Mr. W. Morrison. Who do you pick, Diamond Dallas Page?
You know, that is the hardest category probably ever, because of so many. Like every one of those people, every single one of them could be the comeback of the year. It's like, it's not even like, well, this person wasn't really there. Every single person has their own story. You know, my heart's with William Morrissey because he's my boy. He lives with one of my daughters, Lexi. So my heart's with him, and I put him right there next to him. But I got CM Punk. You know, I think it's like hands down, like not just the comeback, the interviews, like everything. You know, like he did that show. Have you guys seen Heels yet?
Yeah.
So Jake and I, on our new podcast, DDP Snake Pit, Jake and I are reviewing, starting on week 3, Heels as a portion of our podcast every week. And we just reviewed the one that's going to be coming up, where CM Punk is in the show Heels. And
Ricky Rabies, right? I think.
Say what?
Ricky Rabies, right? I think that's what he's called.
Right. And what's funny is while we're filming, like the one I like the best, because we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, and we're on YouTube. And the YouTube ones I like the best because it's me sitting next to Jake, and occasionally Conrad comes up. But the reason I bring this up is because when I start talking about CM Punk in the show, Jake looked at me and he goes, "That's CM Punk?" I go, "Dude, you didn't recognize him?" He goes, "Okay, I already thought he did a great job, but he did a really great job," because Jake didn't even recognize that it was Punk. So that's how good he got into that 80s style character. So all of that happened the same week that he came out on AEW. So the promos, now he's getting back to more of, the aggression as well. Because in the beginning, it's like, damn, I'm just happy to be here. Because the reaction, you knew what kind of reaction he'd get in Chicago. But, man, and the stuff between him and MJF, that's off the charts. Like, I've watched that first promo that they cut twice. I don't watch promos twice, especially 19-minute promos. But it was good, man. And I text MJF the other day because, when I saw him come in, Cody said, "Go, here, I want to introduce you to somebody." Introduced me to MJF. And we just hit it off immediately. And the more I hung out with him, I was like, wow, this guy's really got something super special. So, that's what's so great about having AEW stepping up the way they are. Like, WWE is still the grand poobah, but these guys are, and getting Punk to come back was strong. He gets to come back in a year.
Yeah, so you picked AEW in the first category. Let's move along and pick the female wrestler of the year. We have Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, Dr. Britt Baker from AEW, and Mickie James from Impact and NWA. Who's your pick?
That's another really tough one, man. That's really tough because some of the girls who have been up there, the whole time, and Becky even coming back, of course. But I look at Bianca, and she's, when I first met her down in NXT, because I was taking all the boys and the girls through DDP yoga, and I watched her in the ring and saw her athletic prowess. I was like, wow, she's something really special. To me, it's a toss-up between her and Becky Lynch. Not Becky Lynch. Her and Britt Baker, because Britt has stepped up at a different level, and because she is the woman, and she has really set up her game. I got to give it to her. I got to give it to Britt and Bianca. They're like right there. Becky, of course, they're all right there. But I got to give it to Britt because of the way, when you talk about performer of the year, it's promos, it's look, it's attitude. Like, she's a heel who stays a heel and gets a babyface response, but she don't want it. She don't want it. She's a heel. And she does it. When she turns babyface, forget about it. But she won't have as much fun, because being the heel is what makes her so amazing. And that family of her and Adam Cole, they know what professional wrestling's all about.
Amazing. So we are 2-0 and AEW is leading the charge. Let's go to moment of the year. The nominations are CM Punk's big return, Bianca Belair winning at WrestleMania, the Forbidden Door opening between AEW and Impact Wrestling, Big E becoming the champion after such a long time, and the debut of Bryan Danielson. Time in Dallas Page, your pick.
Again, I'm going to go, I love Bryan Danielson coming in and showing up and all of that, but I got to go, in this case, to Bianca here and give it WrestleMania champion. I mean, what a moment. I mean, I almost cried, because I got choked up, because I know what that work ethic means to get there. That girl's got sick ass work ethic, and again, another great couple in wrestling, that when you can really have that moment with your husband or with your wife, and you're both doing this and loving it, it's a different bond, and it helps you grow as a performer, because they can be straight up with you, like, no, that wasn't as good as you thought it was, or yes it was. Own that. You're killing it, and own that, and give you that confidence. I always say, never underestimate the power someone gives you by believing in you. And that's what these husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, but especially husband and wife, have to help each other grow as a performer. Bianca, it was a tough one now.
Awesome. You have been tag team champion before, so let's pick the tag team of the year then. Right. So we have the Good Brothers from Impact Wrestling. We have Riddle and Randy Orton, RK Bro. We have the New Day. We have the Usos. And we have the Lucha Bros from AEW. Who do you pick?
On a different level, because they can do so much. And I'm a big, Luchador fan. I love those brothers, but I got to go with the Uso brothers, because with, of course, with everything that's happening with Roman and the storylines that they had coming into this, and those two cats, like, when I look at them, I see those two cats can go, not just as wrestlers, not just as interviews, not just as performers, but you don't want to be on the other side of them in a real street fight. Like, Samoans as a whole, just badass sons of bitches to begin with. But those two guys, when you look at them, and they look at you like that, like, hey, it's okay, bro. Let's they're so believable. And you look at what their run has been like to get to where they are today. Both of those guys could be breakout single performers as well. But right now, stick with where they're at, because I think they're at the top of their game right now. But either one of them could break off and both be superstars, singles, doubles, whatever works. Yeah, a lot of respect for those cats.
And my final category for now, you mentioned the Usos. That's the first win for WWE in this category, but Bianca also won. So that's like 2 and 2. So male wrestler of the year. So we have Roman Reigns from WWE. We have Big E from WWE. We have Bryan Danielson from AEW. We have CM Punk from AEW. And we have Kenny Omega from AEW. Who do you think? Bryan Danielson, let me correct myself there. The year he started out in WWE, he main evented WrestleMania, and then he went to AEW and had a great run there. So whom do you pick?
And dude, you just said it there, but let's forget about main event at WrestleMania. Let's take him to his last 2 matches. That when I saw the match between Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson, like 30 minutes, Broadway, I thought that's the match of the year. Like, that's the match of the year. And then I saw him with Hangman, and they went 60 minutes. That's Ric Flair stuff. You know, I think that Bryan Danielson is the baddest cat on the planet in that square circle. Because, and you got to remember, at the height of his WrestleMania run, they retired him because of all of the concussions. And one of the things I do, I just got out of my hyperbaric chamber before I came to do this interview here. Hyperbaric chamber is something that puts oxygen on your brain. That's what he did for 2 years, every morning, every night. That's how he's back in the ring and performing at a level. The only guy I've ever seen do this was Shawn Michaels. And if you remember, Shawn was as good as he got. And then he blew his back out. And then we go through all our big run. And then he comes back because now his back's healed enough. And he has another unbelievable run. That's what Bryan Danielson is doing. And man, I mean, I get sore watching those matches, you know, and just what he's doing out there and the storytelling that he's doing within the matches, whoever he's with, whether it's Kenny or Hangman or, the Invisible Man. I don't care who it is. He's that good. And I mentioned that on the Bro Show with Vince, and someone reprinted it as Hangman, I said, was the guy. And Hangman's great. And I got a ton of respect for him and everything he does. He is the future. He is the future of everything that's happening right now. But right now, Bryan Danielson is the cat. And great group of people to be in the middle of, and then to be able to rise above all that. And I just go back to those days in WWE when they didn't want to push him, but the people with the yes. And I remember seeing him on top of a cage and the entire building doing the yes at the same time with him. WWE didn't want to push him. He was not their stereotypical champion. The people did. And that's kind of, and I wasn't in his spot because he's at a different spot, but the whole diamond cutter sign thing, if I don't ever get that, they never push me. And if I don't have the fans there helping that happen, that's one of the reasons why they called me the People's Champion. I never called myself that. Rock just took it and turned it into something really special. But I'll tell you, Bryan Danielson, one of my favorite people to watch out there in the ring, and definitely the performer of the year, man.
Amazing. So I believe it's split in the middle. If he's on both sides of the spectrum, then WWE wins 2.5 and 2.5 for AEW. Thank you so much, Paige. Thank you on behalf of Sportskeeda Wrestling, all the fans, Bill Apter, and everyone else for being a part of this. Please tell us about your book. Please tell us about DDPY and everything else.
I want to tell you mainly about our Positively Unstoppable Challenge. And it's based off my book, Positively Unstoppable. We have so many thousands of people who have signed up for this contest, and it's worth $250,000. Like, you can win $250,000 to take back your health. And all you gotta do is go to positivelyunstoppable.com and sign up. And from there, it'll tell you where to go, what to do. And with the program, like, my workouts aren't just my DDPY workouts, though. It's inspiration. Like, every Monday's Motivational Monday. Every Tuesday is a new workout. Every Wednesday is a new cooking show. Every Friday is Fabulous Friday. And don't listen to a word I say about my program. Just go on Facebook, and it's DDP Yoga, one word, not two words, one word. And it's a member site there. It started with a buddy of mine named Chris Gabriano, who just had a couple of guys want to go on Facebook and talk about what they were doing with the program. Now there's over 70,000 people. And you know what they do? They help each other. They inspire each other. They help pick each other up. They help moving people forward. It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever been a part of. And it's kind of like professional wrestling in the way you can't make people chant your name. When they're chanting your name, and an example of this is awesome and Rocky, big difference. Because this is awesome means they're watching some kind of a match here that they are doing unbelievable, like, stunts, unbelievable, because they're all stunts. But they're real, because you can't fake gravity. What the guys are putting their body through. But when you're chanting for Austin or DDP or Hogan, you're chanting for that guy to come back. Like, that's the hard part, getting people to do that. On the internet, it's not writing 20 comments or even 50 comments. When you have tens of thousands of comments or paragraphs about what this has done for their life, you can't make that happen. It can only happen organically, just like the real chanting of someone's name to boost them up and feel them with adrenaline for the comeback. And that's what's so great about wrestling, is that we have that. And that's how a lot of the boys and the girls are able to take this crazy bump you just saw. Oh my God, the stuff that Sammy and Cody did last week was off the chain. Those are huge bumps. They take their toll. They're sore as hell, but they hear the reaction of the people. That's what keeps them going. So, when it comes to me, you want to try my program, just go to ddpyoga.com and get 7 days free on my app. Try it out. And if you're willing to put the work in, DDPY works for you. If you don't work, nothing works. All right, boys. Great seeing you. I'll see you next time on The Bro Show every Thursday night at 10:30. And every Tuesday, check out DDP Snake Pit, me and the one and only Jake Snake Roberts, talking about, wrestling, talking about heels, talking about life. And it's a super inspirational show. I guarantee once you get in, you'll be hooked.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. And you have heard from Diamond Dallas Page. Now it's your time to go and pick your winners. So can we have a bang to end the interview?
When it's all said and done, there can only be one. Bang! Have a great day, buddy. Great hanging with you, man.